A brutal winter wind swept through the near-empty streets of Manhattan, howling between buildings and biting at anything brave enough to be outside. Inside a sleek black car, David Langston sat in silence. The world knew him as the titan of tech, a millionaire CEO whose innovations shaped industries. Tonight, he'd been honored at yet another glittering awards gala, crystal glasses, applause, another engraved plaque for the office shelf. Yet despite the accolades, David felt an ache he couldn't name. He watched frost creep along the car window as the city blurred by, more distant than ever. The car rolled slowly through a desolate intersection, the traffic lights casting eerie shadows across the snow-dusted pavement. That's when David saw her. A young woman huddled beneath a flickering bus stop light. Her thin scrubs clung to her like paper, no match for the cold. Her hands were jammed under her arms, lips trembling. She stared down the dark street, waiting for a bus that might never come in this storm. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror, noticing David's focus shift. "Shall I keep going, sir?" David didn't answer right away. Something about her, her stillness, her exhaustion, maybe even her pride, gripped him. She wasn't asking for help, and yet every part of her needed it. "Stop the car," David said quietly, without taking his eyes off her. The vehicle slowed to a halt. In that frozen moment, something in David Langston's life was about to change, though he didn't know it yet. The car door opened with a quiet hiss, releasing a wave of warmth into the frozen night. David stepped out, his designer coat doing little against the bitter wind. The woman at the bus stop flinched slightly, startled by the sudden presence. Her eyes, red-rimmed from the cold, met his. For a moment, neither spoke. "I'm not asking for anything," she said quickly, voice hoarse. "I'm just waiting for the M27. It's late." David took a step closer, hands out of his pockets to show he meant no harm. "You'll freeze to death before it gets here." She hesitated. She looked so young, mid-20s, maybe. A hospital badge dangled from her lanyard, Elena Morales, RN. Her scrubs were wrinkled, and her shoes were soaked through. "I'm fine," she repeated, though her chattering teeth betrayed her. David nodded toward his car. "Come on. I'll give you a ride." Elena frowned, unsure. "I don't know you." "I'm David Langston," he said. "You don't have to trust me. Just don't freeze tonight." Silence stretched between them. Then, as if her legs moved on their own, she stood and followed him. Inside the warmth of the car, her shoulders dropped an inch, her breath slowing. "You didn't have to stop," she said softly. David looked at her, really looked at her. "Neither did you. You could have gone home early. Skipped your shift." She gave a tired smile. "Patients don't wait for weather." And in that moment, David realized she was the kind of person he hadn't met in a long, long time. The car glided through the snowy streets, the soft hum of the engine the only sound for a few minutes. Elena sat quietly, wrapped in a wool blanket the driver had offered, her fingers slowly regaining feeling. Her eyes flickered between the city lights and the man sitting beside her, perfectly tailored suit, polished shoes, but oddly quiet. Not the kind of man she expected to pick up strangers at bus stops. David glanced over. "You were working late?" 14-hour shift, she said, her voice still soft. "ICU's packed. Flu season's hitting hard, and we're short 3 nurses." He nodded. "Rough night?" She gave a weak laugh. "They're all rough. A grandmother with pneumonia coded on me. We brought her back, but she's not out of the woods. A kid, leukemia, asked if I could stay with him till he fell asleep. That kind of thing sticks with you." David's jaw tightened, not out of discomfort but something else, guilt, maybe. Admiration. "What do you do?" she asked, more out of politeness than curiosity. "I'm in tech," he said vaguely. "I build things. Companies. Platforms. It's a lot of numbers. Elena smiled, eyes half-lidded. Numbers don't cry at night. He looked at her then, really looked, how worn her hands were, how much weight she carried for someone so young. In that quiet car, something shifted. The CEO who thought power was everything now sat across from a woman who held life in her hands daily, quietly, without applause. And for the first time in years, he felt small, in the best way. As the car pulled up in front of her building in the Bronx, Elena hesitated. The stoop was buried in snow, the windows dark. She looked up at it with a sigh. No lights? David asked gently. She shook her head. Heat's been off since yesterday. Landlord's working on it. I was gonna crash with a coworker, but she caught the flu, and... She trailed off, clearly embarrassed. David studied the building, then looked at her, shivering again, despite the blanket, dark circles under her eyes, still too proud to ask for anything. Get back in, he said. You're not staying here tonight. She blinked. What? I have a place downtown. Guest room's warm, clean, and doesn't smell like old soup. You'll be safe. I can't. You can, he said, voice calm but firm. You've taken care of people all night. Let someone take care of you for once. She hesitated, torn between pride and exhaustion. Then, slowly, she nodded. The penthouse was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline, glowing like fire against the night. But it wasn't the view that struck her. It was the quiet warmth, the absence of cold, and the strange kindness in the man she barely knew. Later, in the sleek kitchen, they shared soup he didn't even know he had. She laughed for the first time that night when he burned his tongue on it. He laughed too, genuinely, not the polished boardroom version. And in the soft light, Elena looked at him and said, You're not what I expected. David smiled. Neither are you. Morning sunlight spilled into the penthouse, casting a golden glow across the quiet living room. Elena stood by the window, holding a mug of coffee she didn't remember asking for, wrapped in a borrowed sweater far too big for her. The skyline looked different from up here, less cold, less distant. David walked in, phone in hand, freshly showered but unusually thoughtful. Your building's getting heat today, he said casually. I made a few calls. Her brows lifted. You what? He shrugged. No one should come home from saving lives to a frozen apartment. Also, your hospital's nursing fund is getting a little surprise donation. Anonymously. Elena stared at him, eyes wide. Why would you do all that? David paused, then answered honestly. Because last night, you reminded me what real work looks like. What real worth is. She looked down, suddenly emotional. I don't know what to say. Don't, he said softly. Just keep showing up the way you do. That's more than enough. He offered to drive her back, but she chose to take the subway, said it grounded her. At the door, she turned and looked at him, really looked. Not as a stranger. Not as a CEO. But as a man who had changed something in her without asking anything in return. Thank you, she whispered. David watched her disappear into the morning light, a smile tugging at his lips. For the first time in years, his world, measured in billions, felt rich in a different way. He whispered to himself, You're coming with me. But this time, it was her kindness he meant to carry.